right. So, hello everyone. This is Vibe with Viv. That's for vision, inspiration, believing in empowerment. Welcome again to another session. Today, I'm welcome to have Alex. He's another relationship coach, and we're going to be diving into some questions that have been pressing on women's mind when it comes to relationships and finding love and healing. As you already know, I work with women who are, trying to heal after going through a breakup, regaining their self-worth, forgiveness, and just come to terms with who they are again after not being in a relationship. So today we're going to be discussing some topics on the man's perspective when it comes to finding love and healing, and how that may help some women who are trying to navigate these things as well. And I am here with Alex. I'll let you introduce yourself, Alex.
Yes, hello. My name is Alexander Young. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. I live out here in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Yes, I'm a veteran. And, I'm a relationship coach by passion because I figured that relationships need to get back to the basics of knowing what it means to have a solid foundation. So basically, I like to help relationships be fulfilled and people fulfill their vision for the relationship. So that's one of my main goals. The One of the reasons why you don't want to question somebody's past relationships is because you might you don't if you don't question your own past relationships, you're not gonna really know what happened between him and that other woman.
Mhm.
You're not gonna really know because you wasn't there. That's just the honest truth. Now, if he tells you how many women he's been with, this woman and this woman, hey, that's a good flag. That's a green flag because at least he's being honest with you, saying he's been with this woman. He'll probably tell you what he's been through. Now, one of the biggest things with that too is now, if he says, if he if he thinks that he doesn't have any problems that he didn't do in the relationship, then that's a red flag because then he's not doing evaluation on himself.
Mhm.
Because sometimes as a good person we can have good intentions, but there's also good intentions can have you can have toxic traits too that you know other women saw.
Right.
But still on that same note, you don't know what happened in their relationship.
Right. So would you say though that it would be good to find out some of the reasons why it happened, but then take it maybe with a grain of salt in the sense that you weren't there, you don't know exactly what happened. But I think there is some benefits to discussing your past relationships and, what didn't work and why it didn't work, almost more like a self-reflection process so that you can hopefully learn and move forward from it. I would hope that, when you're moving on to the next relationship, you're carrying like some of the things you've learned, and it may be a good discussion topic. So
Hmm.
the past relationships, in terms of not trying to figure out who was wrong or right, or if the story is completely true, but in the terms of, okay, so this is kind of what happened, and this is what I learned from it, and this is how I'm choosing to move forward. So I think it can be a red flag if someone does not want to talk about their past relationships in itself. They're not also being honest with themselves. So I think it's that fine line of someone telling you their story, you believing it, to whatever extent you want to take it. But the biggest thing I would say is that person is being able to process it and what they're
Yes.
willing to do next time differently. What did they pull out from it? But it's true, we don't know exactly what happened in that relationship. So don't go in the middle and try and be problem solver, because what's the point, right? The point is just to move forward and to pick up those knowledge that you have learned moving forward. But
And I'm gonna say this. I thought about this. It's something I thought about. You know, because as you know, when you talk about healing after a breakup, okay, and moving to another relationship, I have this method called the Backtrack healing method. Now, this is a thought process because it's along the lines of what you just said. Now, you it's three phases. The move on is a third phase. The second phase of it is the breakup. but the first phase is the cause of the breakup. So number one, you already in this move on phase. So you're trying to move on. So now you have to backtrack from three, from move on, go to the breakup. Because one of the biggest things you want to know is if you're moving on from the last relationship, you're looking at the breakup from your previous one. Was it preventable? And then also, what what have you learned from it, and what can be changed? What can be changed from it being repeated? But when you look at that, you have to go to number one, which is now you're looking back. What was the initial cause of the breakup? And when you do that, that calls for a self reevaluation of yourself and the other person's actions. Because one of the biggest things is if you're moving forward, it'll become to this place now that you're moving forward. When it comes to all these questions, you have to know what are you going to do moving forward? Are you going to build a wall or are you going to build a shield? Because you building a wall means that you really don't want nobody coming in or anything, and you're not really looking. Now, building a shield is a way of protecting yourself to say, okay, if I'm asking these questions, okay, I know how to protect myself in this area, protect myself in this area, or whatnot. But also, you have to go back to the cause of breakup, self-reflection, because you have to look at why you're building a wall or building a shield, because you have to evaluate what you have did too, as well.
Mhm.
So when we question everybody else, it's good to find out, and like you said, not to be, okay, let me get to the bottom of this and that, because you're not focused on their relationship, to be focused on your relationship, because you don't want to bring that relationship to this relationship. And
Absolutely.
and so you
Sorry,
learn
go ahead. Yeah.
so you learn from your other relationships. And it's okay to say, you instead of saying, oh, this person did this to me, just say, how to say, well, I've been through this and this is what I've been through, but this is what I've learned. Also, this is what I've done before, and I know it wasn't good. So this is the whole totality of what I'm bringing to you. I'm letting you know up front. And that's another way to know if somebody's being upfront with you about things, then that's a green flag. Because sometimes we tend to look at red flags, but sometimes you have to look at how can we get the red flags from red to yellow to green. Because the purpose of a relationship is to help build each other up and not tear each other down. And I'm learning that still, even in my relationship with my fiance, 5 years strong, and we've had our ups and downs, and I love her very much. I truly do love her, and I don't care how far apart we are. The biggest thing I've learned is I can't bring my past relationship to it. She can't bring her past relationship. She knows what I've been through. I know what she's been through. But the biggest thing we know is how we move forward is, yes, I've had a shield. We both had shields. In essence, one of us had a wall. But in essence, in order for us to see each other what we're trying to get to, we have to tear down a wall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you make a good point there in the sense that I think a lot of people, when they do go through heartbreak, they skip the healing process. We want to feel better. We don't want to feel this way. So we kind of try and skip that point and then move on to another relationship. And then we bring in all this baggage and, all these unmet needs and wants into that relationship. And that is a problem for that next relationship as well, because you're not completely healed and you have not paused and reflected on what could have been done differently or the role you played. And it's very vital to take that time to really process all those things and then come back with skills that you've learned, different techniques that you can then apply to your next relationship. And another thing, as you mentioned, is that we can sometimes then go into a new relationship after a heartbreak with this like shield or not even be open to it. And the truth is, in order to find love again, is to be willing to get heartbroken again, it's a hard thing, it's a hard concept, but that's really the only way when you're being vulnerable with yourself, with the other person. But the difference is that you have these tools that you can tap into in order to guard and protect yourself, watching for those red flags. Can you turn those red flags into a green flags? It really depends. But when I always say, when someone shows you who they are, believe it. And yeah, don't second doubt yourself, because especially as women, we have that intuition within us that's guiding us. And if you really pause and listen, it will direct you. So, and that leads me to that next question. Why does it seem like men heal faster after a breakup? Or do they not? Like what?
It depends on the type of person they are and their character and their heart.
Mm.
Some guys can move on fast, some guys can't, and it just depends on what they've been through. Women tend to have a lot more emotional than men, and then you have to think a lot of men are not as vulnerable as women,
Mm-hmm.
and so what happens is, man, say, okay, I'm gonna go on and just go about my business, and they move on. And because with men, sometimes as men, we're hunters. We're hunters, but not all of us are trying to get something real quick. Some of us know how to really reevaluate things. Some guys just say, okay, I found somebody else. Women, they women have a tendency of really putting up a wall and not trying to be bothered until something drastic happens that breaks that wall apart. And it's like the emotion side of it is that women wants to feel loved. Man, we want to feel loved too. But what happens is men look for love faster. Women look for the whole "are you in love with me" deal as well. So we probably look in one direction while the woman is looking in the whole totality. Now there are some men who look in everything in totality too, but I say about a good 65% of men are mostly more, I can move on because I'm a man, it doesn't hurt me as bad. Where that other percentage where men can be hurt or devastated by it, or don't want to move on, or they want to try to keep what they have. And like I said, it depends on what they went through, who they with, and what they really want. So that could determine the factor how their rate of speed of finding love and healing and everything in that nature.
Mm-hmm. You bring up a good point there. We're talking about vulnerability, because I think that's a big thing with men, where they may go through something difficult. There are men who probably do struggle moving on with relationships, but because of the whole notion that men can't be vulnerable and be real with their emotions, they feel that they just need to pick up the bags and move while they are hurting. So there's a stigma around men really being real with that emotional side of it, which could be what propels this moving on fast and acting like I don't care, when maybe actually they do care, but just society has taught that men need to have this tough skin. And that's what propels this kind of feeling or emotion that we see when it comes to relationships with men moving on faster. And then the other thing you brought up, which I thought was interesting, was that men are naturally hunters. And if we look back into, history, like the men are the one always going hunting, and they're kind of created to find that person, find that wife, So because of that kind of instinctual thing within them, they're more so natural for them to then, okay, so this didn't work. Let me move on and find the next one. Let me go hunting and find the next one. So
Right.
it's kind of that nature nurture thing within us that dictates which path we take. So that was really good. I like that perspective in addition to that.
Yes. And and you know, one of the biggest things is, and I'm bring it up here. There's one thing I've learned is you have to have a self-awareness, a self-accountability, and a self-awakening. And I have this book right here. It's called God is a Behaviorist, Status, Married, in a Relationship by Shauna M. Dennis. And it's a great read. And one of the biggest things too about this book, it deals with how God deals with behaviors. So when you look in relationships and you're talking about healing and finding love, look at the behavior pattern of somebody, because the behavior pattern of somebody will tell you, okay, how this person is, how can you work with it, and how can you help them be a better person as well. Because you want to get to this factor that, and like and when we just talked about, being vulnerable and not being vulnerable, maybe able to move on faster, it being vulnerable is the most powerful thing you can do with your partner.
Mm.
Because if y'all can be open with each other, y'all will be able to have a solid foundation. But the thing is, you got to watch who you be open with. Because, past relationships, you got people who you shared your treasure chest with, but they didn't give all the gold out to everybody else. Because some people live the bitter breakup, and just not just a breakup, but they live bitter, and they keep that bitterness inside of them. And so what we need to do is we need to look at our behavior patterns.
Right. I really appreciate you. This was awesome. This was great. This was
Yes, ma'am.
there was a lot of nuggets that were taken out of this, and I believe that a lot of people will apply into their lives. What are some last advice you would give, let's say, for someone who's trying to find love, or a woman who's trying to heal? What's a last advice you would kind of give on one of those two ends?
Well, on those two ends, I would say go back to my backtrack healing method, the thought process. To move on, look back towards the breakup. Look at the breakup to see if it was preventable, and what can I do to change that it won't happen again. And then you go back to the cause. You go back to the root cause of the breakup, which means a person has to have self-reflection, a self-evaluation of their actions, and also look at the other person's actions on what they did, what led to the breakup. And as I said, if you get this book right here is a good read. It's called God is a Behaviorist, Status, Married, in a Relationship by Shauna M. Dennis. It is a good read. It'll teach you about vulnerability, self-awareness, self-awakening, and self-accountability. Because when you're finding love, there's two things you want to look at. Before you move on, are you going to build a wall, or are you going to build a shield? A shield is going to protect you in the areas, but you'll know how to let down your shield to some friendly people. But when you put up a wall, you won't know who's friendly or who's enemy, because you're busy, you got a brick wall. And most of the time, you hear this saying that there's a shortage of good men. A lot of women say, but at the same time, you got this brick wall up, which is called standards, in which you don't really have a standard for yourself, because you got this brick wall, and it's gonna take you brick by brick, because you don't get to see. With your shield, you can let down to see, but with this wall, you're not gonna see. You're just not making yourself accessible to finding love. You're just making yourself more you're making yourself more introverted, that you can be blocking your own blessing from a good man because your past hurt, you are still drowning in your own past hurt, and you throwing a pity party, and you think that no man can ever love you the right way. I can be honest, I was that way before. I was that way before. And right now, I can honestly say I thank God for where I am now and who I am with right now. And though we have our ups and downs, what relationship doesn't? But the first thing you need to know is when you get into a relationship, why is it that you get to a relationship? And understand that if you're going to be in a relationship, cultivate it. If you're going to move on, don't compare your future to your past. Because only thing you're going to do is bring salt from the past. And then when salt comes onto your relationship, you'll have that salt from your past. You'll have that old rusty salt, and you putting on more new salt. And you ain't gonna ever find the sugar that you're looking for.
That's good. Thank you. And I appreciate you again for coming on and your time. Where can
Having me.
people find you if they wanted to connect with you?
You could find me on Facebook at Alexander Young. You can reach out to me. I'm on Instagram, Alexander Young 163 9461. I'm on. Also, you can email me at alexmyoung55 @gmail. That's how you're able to find me.
Awesome. Wonderful. And again, you know, anyone watching this, if you are in need of, you know, getting that coaching, whether it's in finding love, healing, definitely hit either I or Alex up. We would be happy to serve you and just to be real and work with you in whatever situation you may be going through. And again, Vibe with Viv Tribe, thank you again for coming on. That's her vision, inspiration, belief, and empowerment. And I hope that through watching this video, you've been encouraged, empowered, and given some steps that you can apply into your life when it comes to finding love and in healing. And have any thoughts on the video that on the topics we talked about today, leave a comment below. I would like to hear what your thoughts are. And until next time, we'll see you soon.